Begin with meditation. Finding our seat, feeling our body planted here on the earth. Feel our legs, our feet, our ankles. Just noticing what it feels like to sit here. Feel the weight of our body. Notice our spine strong and straight, supporting our body. Notice our hands resting. Scan the body for any areas of tension, perhaps the shoulders, the jaw, the hands, and let them relax. Bring our attention to the breathing. Notice the feeling of the in-breath. And the out-breath. Pause after the out-breath and after the in-breath. Letting go of thoughts as they come and just paying attention to each breath. Notice sounds, body sensations as they come. Let them go. Bring our attention to the next breath. One breath at a time. The in-breath brings us energy, reminds us to sit up and pay attention. The out-breath brings relaxation, calmness, we notice a thought, perhaps notice if the thought is about the future or the past. Whether the thought is pleasant or unpleasant. And then let it go. Just breathing. Here we are, week 7. Thank you for being here, whether you're here in person or watching from somewhere else. How are we? How are we with our practice? Steady? Firm? Sure of ourselves?
I don't know about that. I do find that movement before meditation helps a lot. Unless it's right first thing in the morning, like if I wake up and I just go downstairs, light a candle, sit down and meditate, that's different than if I get up and have a cup of coffee. Then I feel like I need to move my body a little bit. I'm antsy and I just need to settle in.
Okay, good.
I just find that if I just do it as soon as I wake up, I'm less likely to be interrupted.
Mhm.
So that's the easiest for me.
Me too.
You have a spot.
I just stay in bed for a little bit longer.
Yep.
And if I fall back asleep, then I just know I need to sleep.
Right.
This morning I woke up at 3 a.m. and it felt like 5 a.m., like when I normally would wake up. Like I was sitting up, getting ready to go meditate actually, because I thought, well, I might as well get up and meditate. Why should I lay here? I'm wide awake. And I looked at the clock and it was 3 a.m. And I laid back down thinking, well, that's too early. And when I was very disturbed for about an hour, didn't sleep, restless, tossing and turning. And then when I took a walk with my husband today and was telling him about it, it dawned on me like I probably should have just gotten up and meditated at 3 a.m. when that's what I was prepared to do, and then I probably would have went back to gone back to bed and slept well, more quickly. So I'm gonna remember that next time.
I sometimes do that.
You do, yeah. It was almost like I got woken up to meditate.
Well, there was something going on that you needed to take care of, apparently, huh?
It didn't feel like I was busy in my mind. It didn't feel like sometimes you wake up and you just start thinking and you're stressed.
Right.
It didn't feel like that.
No.
It just felt like,
I find it interesting that it changes. My experience changes day to day. Some days I feel really clear, some days kind of foggy, some days many interesting thoughts occur, some days it's just circling around about memories and plans. And of course, I like the days when I'm clear and I got some great insights, but they're all important. So this week we're going to talk about a mindfulness of pain. And there's 2 aspects to this I'm finding out. One is mindfulness practice can help us tolerate pain. And we'll talk about that. The second, though, that I'm learning is that mindfulness of pain is one of the great doorways to insight, to learning. Next week, we're going to talk about emotional pain, which is perhaps even more cogent in terms of learning about ourselves, but physical pain too, I'm finding. There's this theory that was developed, I think, in about the 60s, that I don't know about the science for it right now, but I know it's generally well accepted, called the gate theory of pain. So pain sensations come in on the nerves, into the spine, into the spinal cord, and travel up to the brain. And they found that the brain not only receives these signals, interprets them, but it also has an influence going down to whether the pain signals actually are received. So we all know the experience. If we have something hurts and we decide to ignore it or distract ourselves, let's say we're our back hurts and we decide to go for a walk anyway, and after a while we're into the walk and we really don't notice the pain. So remember we talked about the hand model of the brain and the spinal cord that brings the signals in, and the brain stem that receives them, and then the midbrain, the amygdala, or often called the limbic system, is where it gets, and then it goes up to the cerebral cortex to be interpreted. This limbic system as they found, is where we can actually influence the pain going down. So pain signals that come in don't necessarily get received because the body decides we're not going to do that right now, and it can block them. It's a gate, it closes the gates. I think that's very interesting.
Kind of what people go through when they're in shock, maybe?
Yes.
The brain protects you from that at the moment. It's a survival.
It's a protective mechanism, yes.
Or chronic pain,
Yeah.
because it never goes away. You just learn to deal with it, or the brain learns to not receive those messages
Yeah.
as much.
So hopefully, in meditation, we can train our brain to do that. Now there's 4 typical responses that we have with physical pain. And I have a handout I'm going to give you at the end of class that goes through these with a nice schematic about it. The first response, now these are true about acute pain, which obviously pain is a signal sometimes that something's wrong, that we need to take care of it. Chronic pain, a little different, you know, perhaps we've checked it out. We found out that, yeah, this is something, and there's, you know, the doctor says, well, I wouldn't recommend any treatment for you right now. You have to, you know, find a way to manage this. So the first way that we tend to deal with pain is blocking. That's a little bit what I just referred to. So if we have a pain, we can do a number of blocking mechanisms. We can grit our teeth and get through it. That's a blocking mechanism. We can distract ourselves. Like I said, we can do something else to take our attention away from it.
Would taking aspirin be a blocking mechanism?
Yes, taking medication. Is a blocking medication. Yes. Well, in the same way, alcohol and other drugs are blocking mechanisms. What are some others?
Hurting yourself so you have pain somewhere else to focus on.
There you go. That's right. So some of these work and they can be effective. Sometimes they don't work so well. And that can lead to the second kind, which is drowning. We have this pain and we grit our teeth through it, we take some medication, it keeps coming back, and it gets us to the point where we can't handle it anymore. Oh, this is going to go on forever. And I don't know what I can ever do about this drowning. We feel overwhelmed, panicky, sorry for ourselves. Why me? And very often it will go back and forth. So we'll come to a period of being overwhelmed, and then we'll try a blocking mechanism and we'll feel better for a while, and we go back and forth. The third one we might call letting go and returning. So this is what we do in meditation. We notice sensations and we let them go and return to the breath. So the breath is such a powerful tool. Coming back to each breath is just calming in itself. And if we can notice the pain and let it go, come back to the breath, that can be very effective. I've had this pain right here in my left butt for like over a month now. And now I'm beginning to notice it's down here in my leg, so I think it's sciatica.
Mm-hmm. Your IT band.
Yeah. Actually, I went for massage, and Mark said my IT band is tight on that side, but I'm not sure the massage helps, so I'll try it some more. But so I notice when I'm sitting with this, it is the predominant sensation when I first sit down sometimes, and it's really distracting. But I kind of stay with it, I pay attention to it, and we'll talk about some ways in which we can pay attention to that. And then I'll come to my breath and notice my breath, and after a while, my breath kind of takes over. Other thoughts come, I come back to my breath, and after a while I notice that I can hardly feel that pain anymore. So that's where noticing and letting go and returning to the breath can be effective. The fourth way that we can deal with pain is kind of counterintuitive, and that is turning toward the pain. So I've noticed this pain here, and I've decided it's not so bad, I can't handle it. I'm going to make that the object of my concentration. So I really focus on that. I notice where it is, how big of an area, how bad is it, just mild, or is it kind of severe? Is it burning or sharp, or try to describe it? And very often, staying with the pain, we notice that it's not just continuous, but it kind of changes. It goes up and down, it changes its area. It's very interesting. Oh, this pain isn't what I thought it was. And just noticing that, we also can often get this knowledge that it's not permanent. Pains come and go, just like thoughts come and go. And that's very reassuring. We can manage this. And when we can turn toward the pain, we can really learn something about ourselves. Now, sometimes the pain is just too much. And we may say, I'm going to turn toward this pain, and we notice I'm not getting anywhere. This is just overwhelming. And that's when we can kind of go back to trying to let it go and breathing, and say, well, I'll come back to this pain later, another time, and just try it a little bit at a time and noticing what it's like, staying with it. And that in itself can be very helpful. A lot of this teaching is from this teacher, Vidyamala Birch. This is a large print edition of her book, Living Well with Pain and Illness. She is from Australia, she's been practicing meditation a long time, and she's had chronic pain a long time. She was born with a spinal defect. She's rode horses anyway, fell off and had some injuries, multiple surgeries. She's in a wheelchair. She has chronic pain and paralysis. She's a really wise teacher about this, and you can go on YouTube and find some videos of her that are very good. I found out about her from this resource that I mentioned to you called Palouse Mindfulness, which is an online version of the mindfulness-based stress reduction class, which is wonderful in itself. So I've got, I think in this handout I'm going to give you, it has a reference. So we'll come back to some of that, but I just have a couple of little exercises to do together first, okay? So this is a reflection, a contemplation, I guess. So let's sit. Noticing our breath in our body. And find some place in the body that feels unpleasant, where we have unpleasant sensations, pain, discomfort. Find a spot. One area. Name that area to yourself. And if you can, just kind of focus on that area for a few moments, a few breaths. Come back to that, let that go. Do you notice anything else unpleasant in your current experience right now? And name that. And maybe scan the body for all areas of discomfort. And name them. Maybe count them. How many are there? Maybe if it's on one side of the body or the other, notice its comparison to the opposite side. Okay, let go of that. Take some breaths. Now let's notice, where in our body does it feel pleasant? Does it feel comfortable right now? Name those areas and count them. Okay, let's let that go and return to the breath. Could we share what we noticed? What were the unpleasant areas?
I noticed that my right foot was falling asleep, it was tucked underneath my leg, and my right shin was being poked by my left foot. So,
I have a shoulder injury that I'm nursing, and I had 90 minutes of therapy, and I could name many different spots along my neck, my trapezius, my shoulder, under my scapula, down my arm to my hand, like very specific places. I have arthritis in my right knee and a little bit of something in my right hip as well. That was bothering me.
You can feel those right now. My shoulders bother me too. Right now, I think the right one's a little more uncomfortable than the left. It just feels like just hanging there is like they're putting pressure on something. I've had therapy before for it, so they're not bad, but I noticed that my ankles are uncomfortable sitting in this position, kind of stretched back that way. Yeah, my butt doesn't hurt right now. In terms of pleasant sensations, I noticed my hands resting felt good. My butt on the cushion, right planted here, feels good. Each breath feels good. What pleasant things did you all notice?
same things, comfortable in my seat and just calm and everything else besides my feet.
I focused on the other shoulder and how good that one felt compared to the other. Same with my knee. I was like really happy to think about the knee that doesn't hurt. And my hands, because for some reason tonight this is the mudra I want to hold, and I really loved how my fingertips felt touching each one.
Yes.
It was very soothing.
We noticed that we share this. We all have pain and discomfort. We all have pleasant sensations. Just knowing that is helpful, I think.
If I may add to that, having been living with this kind of chronic pain, I have become so much more considerate of understanding why someone might be grumpy or short.
Yeah.
Because you try to hide it as best you can, but inevitably things, we are human. We're not always perfect.
Yes.
And so you know firsthand when you act ugly yourself because you're uncomfortable or whatever, that you can then be more forgiving of other people, even if you don't know them.
Yeah.
You see them in the store and you might think, boy, they look really crabby, but instead you think, oh, I wonder what's going on with that fella.
Yeah. Here's another thing. Let's just clench our fist really hard. And release it. Do it again. And release it. Notice what happens with our breath when we clench like that. You tend to hold your breath sometimes, stop breathing. That doesn't make it feel any better. So that's an illustration of when we have something like that, just breathing helps. If you relax around your breath and breathe into the sensation, even as you continue to clench, it feels a little different. Certainly it gives you the awareness to allow it to relax. The breath is such a powerful tool. And when I was studying this, I learned some stuff about the anatomy and physiology of breathing that I found very helpful. I don't know if I shared this with you before. The diaphragm is the principal muscle that allows us to breathe. The diaphragm is a muscle that separates the abdomen from the chest, and it's like a dome or a tent. It's suspended in that way by ligaments that go up to the ribs and the sternum and the spine, and even by the heart. When we take a in-breath, the diaphragm contracts and moves down, and that allows the lungs to expand, the air to come in, the oxygen to enter the bloodstream and circulate. And when we allow when the body does an out breath, it relaxes and moves up. So this is very interesting. Not only does the diaphragm help the lung to expand, but it also affects the belly. Every time we take a breath and it contracts, it pushes our organs in the abdomen, in effect massaging them with every breath. The kidneys are pushed up against the backbone and move at least an inch with every breath. I think this is helpful because if we're going to use the breath as a tool to help us deal with pain, we can focus on these different areas. Let's try this. Sitting and breathing. Notice how, with the in-breath, the belly pushes forward, and with the out-breath, it relaxes backward. Just focusing on each breath, out and in. Out with the in-breath, back in with the out-breath. Just the feeling of the belly, expanding and contracting. Now we can move our attention to the sides of the belly, the flanks. And notice what happens with each in-breath and out-breath there. Maybe put your hands on there. Notice how the sides expand with the in-breath. Those organs are pushing out and relax with the out-breath. Now bring our attention to the spine, the low back. Can you feel with the in-breath pressure on the backbone when you breathe in? And release of that pressure with the out-breath? Now move up to the lower ribs in front. Feel them move with the breath. Notice the sides of the chest, right and left with each breath. Notice the back of the chest. Notice the upper chest into the area of the clavicles, the collarbones. Some of the action of breathing happens with muscles there. Can you feel that? Then we just return to the general feeling of each in and out breath. So this may, if we're having trouble concentrating on our breath, focusing on these different areas may be a tool in helping us improve our concentration. Any comments?
On Saturday in yoga, in Shavasana, I led them through something so similar to what you just did. It was breathing into the belly first upward, and it was breathing into the belly outward, and then we sandwiched our hands front and back to grow vertically, and then moved it up. And I think in yoga also, to get people to breathe more expansively, feeling it, their hands on their bodies, helps. Enjoy that practice a lot. And you realize how shallow you breathe normally when you're taking those big deep breaths and feeling your torso expand so greatly.
It's interesting how meditation, how our breathing changes in meditation. You know, sometimes in what I do, I'm not necessarily trying to change the breathing, I'm just feeling it. And very often, if my concentration is poor, I'm noting I'm really breathing deep because I'm trying so hard. And then if my concentration settles, the breaths are just a lot easier. Maybe more shallow, but just
Natural.
settled, natural, yeah. Just noticing what it's like. The body scan, which we've learned, is another really good tool in dealing with pain. We did it in a way when we were looking at it. It can be in two ways. As we scan systematically through the body, we will notice painful areas sometimes. And then we we can stay with that area, and we'll do that in a minute. Or the general body scan is we notice something and we let it go and we move on to another area. And of course, since it's really hard to pay attention to two things at once, when we move on, our awareness of that painful area wanes and it makes it easier. So the body scan is a really helpful way to deal with pain.
I'm thinking about Jesus saying, when someone slaps you in the face, you should give them the other cheek.
There you go.
Maybe that's so that like this side doesn't hurt so bad.
Right.
Now this side hurts. I don't know why that came to mind.
Very good.
I was thinking about how this new injury, focusing on this new injury has made me forget the old one. And then I was like, well, maybe that knee doesn't even hurt anymore because I haven't been paying attention to it.
Obviously, movement helps. You know, one thing we tend to do when an area hurts is we stop using it, right? And rest is obviously important. But if we stop using entirely, it's going to freeze up and not get better. So mindful movement of a painful area is helpful, and we do this in yoga all the time. You do it to a certain point. You notice you want to play between the hard edge and the soft edge, some people say. So you get, I think physical therapists say that. So as you're moving a joint, you get to a point where, oh, it starts to hurt, so back off a little bit. The pain is a sign that we're going too far. But we want to get to that area, and if we keep doing it, obviously we get a little bit better. So that's principle of physical therapy. If you keep doing it, stretch that range a little bit, it will improve, right? So that's another tool we have. We've got the body scan, we've got the breath, we've got the mindful movement, ways of dealing with our physical pain. Another one that Vidyamala Birch mentions is pacing. She talks about taking a break before we need it. So with her chronic pain, she's a writer. So she's found that if her back pain is getting bad and she just tries to keep working and writing, she can maybe get 2 hours of writing done, and by the end she's so exhausted she's no good for the rest of the day. But if she can write for 20 minutes, start to notice it's bothering her, and take a rest or do something else for 15, 20 minutes, she can come back to it again, and this way she can work all day. So pacing, I think this is really valuable for me as I get older. So if I'm going to do something, I'm going to rake the leaves, let's say, and say, I can do this for an hour, okay? And after an hour, I can stop and I say, well, I got something done and it kind of hurts, but it's a good time to stop pacing. And we don't necessarily have to set a clock, we can just be mindful of our body. But so often, when we're involved in a task, we want to push through, right?
That's my dad, the farmer, you know, it's like, well, you don't stop until the job is done.
That's right.
And you do it so well, you don't have to do it again.
Yeah.
No matter what hurts.
Well, that works.
It took me a long time to break myself of that habit, though, that work ethic that everybody said was like, you know, oh, you're moving, we need to get Meg. Because, you know, I was like really a worker.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, well, I don't need to have that as, you know, the thing that people know me about. Or I don't need that, you know. Pacing is really important. And I think the reason why I'm as young as I am and have as much discomfort as because I didn't pace,
Okay,
right? I just pushed.
yeah, so now with your chronic pain, you really learned to
Oh,
pace.
yeah.
Yeah,
Breaks are so important for everything, not just in working and pain, but they're also important with learning. And I think that my dad is one who told me when I was doing my chemistry homework at 10 o'clock one night, falling asleep on my books, he was my chemistry teacher, go to bed, you're not learning anything anyway.
that's right.
I mean, and then I took a class that said that you actually, when you take a break from studying, you do something, like take a walk or do something that's not thinking about the thing, your brain has a chance to organize all that new information and put it into the long-term memory and to make it stick better. So all of these schools that are cutting out recess and breaks just to get in all this extra learning and all these classes, they really are doing a detriment to the learning.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I think it's been a kind of a bias that we have to just push and push, but we find out it's like, what's that saying, like go slow to get further, or slow down to go faster,
Mhm, yeah,
or, you know.
Yeah.
You might push and push, and what are you actually accomplishing if you're doing it sloppy or doing
They
it?
can pass the test, but they don't remember what they did.
That's right.
Later.
That's a normal thing. There's so much stuff that they're supposed to learn that they don't really need.
very good,
Yeah, breaks in
yeah,
in relationships, in friendships, even then, you need to take
Balance.
pace, you need to pace it.
yes,
I need a moment away,
yes.
which was kind of like today, like my husband and my family were like, it's your birthday, stay home with us, and I was like, I'm gonna go. I love you.
Yes,
Meditation is calling.
Yeah.
have to get out, get away once in a while.
There's a labyrinth right by my house. I don't know if you know about it. I did it today for my walking meditation. It's on County T
Okay,
between here and Kiel. So you take 151 out past Hayden.
yeah,
The church that's on your right up on a hill,
Yeah.
Church Road, is a 1 mile road. It's right there at that church.
oh,
And it's this lovely, all year long you can walk it. It's
Okay.
stone, and it's a half mile in and half mile out. I think.
Wow.
Or maybe it's a quarter mile in and a quarter mile out.
okay,
But
wow,
anyways, it's really lovely. It's a beautiful scene. So
okay,
if you ever need to take a walk,
right near
and
that
the
church at the top of the hill,
yeah, it's St. Martin's Heritage Park.
yes, okay, thank you.
I could have used this class in 2020 when I was in the thick of my, everything was new and I was really wallowing.
Yes.
Really just like feeling it, like what is going on and what is happening and who am I and did I lose everything? Will I ever dance again? Like
Wow.
I really, yeah. And these, I've come a long way since then. I
Yeah.
really have. And I feel like when you were talking about these steps, I've gone through them all.
Yeah.
I really feel like in these years, it's been 3 years now or 4 years, and I really feel like, there is, blocking doesn't really work for very long.
Uh-huh.
It's a short-term fix.
Yeah.
You have to get to the letting go.
The idea of leaning in is new for me,
Mhm.
but it's kind of interesting because I think that's what we do with our emotional pain.
Yeah.
Or what works best, because if you try to say, no, I'm not sad, I'm just gonna smile, I'm not sad. But if you just say, yeah, I'm sad, I feel that, why is that? And you get a little curious about it, and it takes away its power to control you or to be the only thing you feel, and pain is like that as well. Doesn't
We're
become
gonna work
weak.
on that next week.
And I am not my pain, and I am not my sadness,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
More than all of that, it's really been if you lean in too much and you focus on it too much, leaning in and being curious are more what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But focusing on it as like, this is all I can think about, feel, then you just start to, it becomes you.
Yeah,
I was there, you know, it's like, it's so good.
well, let's try turning toward for a minute. Sitting in our posture, feeling our body sitting here, noticing our breath in and out. Bring attention to an area of discomfort that we feel right now, not something about a problem we know we have or a history of a problem. Find something that feels uncomfortable right now. And name that area to yourself. And if we can, keep our attention on that area, breathing with it, maybe kind of noticing the breath and the discomfort. Noticing that painful area. We found an area. How big of an area is it? Can we imagine its shape and its area? Is it a very small pinpoint area, or is it a large area, like an egg, or maybe it's as big as a pancake? Can we notice how deep it is? Just breathing with it, noticing. How intense is the discomfort? Is it mild? Something we just barely notice? Is it a little bit harder, that thing that we'd rather not have it? Or is it quite painful that it's really hard to even stay there with it? If we can stay with it for a few moments, notice its quality. Is it warm or cool? Is it sharp or dull? Is it prickly, perhaps? Is it vibratory? Maybe aching? Just breathing with it, noticing that painful area. Does the sensation change? Does the area change? Does it get smaller or larger? Does the intensity change as we move out from the center? How is it on the periphery? the act of breathing change it with each breath. Now, if we can, let's let go of our attention on that area. Just stay letting go of you. And just breathe. And bring our attention to an area that feels good. What is that area? How big of an area is it? Does it feel warm or cool? Does it feel expansive or contracted? Just breathing with an area of pleasure. Letting go of that area, just return to noticing each in and out breath. As we continue our meditation practice, our concentration gradually improves, and I think this improves that letting go muscle. When we notice something, we can affect where our attention goes. It's not just willy-nilly, we can learn to direct our attention. So if there's an area of discomfort that needs investigation, we can stay with that. If it's too uncomfortable, we can let it go. If there's an area of pleasure, we can stay with that and not get carried away with it, with all stories about it. We notice, oh, and we can let go of that. And as we continue our practice over days and months and years, we can get better at it. So if we can learn to do this before we have problems, we are equipped. Mm-hmm. So someone suggested that I should have a different class. Faye Conan. No. Faden Fully Love Krause. And thinking more about it, Barb said you should do that. So I'm working on a class for next fall that's going to be about mindful aging and learning some of these things will help us as we age and make aging actually a wonderful learning process. My premise for the class is most of us, many of us, would like to be wise role models for our younger family members and other people. Maybe even give them some wise advice. Well, how do we come to the point where we can do that? Investigating ourselves is where that starts. So that's sort of my premise for this class for next fall I'm working
I
on.
love it, sounds really good, what a great topic.
I'm finding lots of resources, so it's exciting for personal growth, of course, because I'm really I'm approaching my age more mindfully now. Aches and pains, changes in my life. Thank you for your practice. Hang around and talk some more if you'd like. And I'll be back here next week. Will you both be able to come next week?
I
No?
can't, I have a training that I
Okay.
have to be at, so.
Okay, well, good. We'll come and we'll record it again. That'll be our last one, and perhaps you heard me talk that I'm planning another course just like this, the 6 weeks, beginning the first Thursday in February for 6 weeks, beginning at 6 p.m. I'm gonna try that, just one class. I'm not gonna do the Tuesday, Thursday, Friday class because the attendance is waning. I'm just gonna do this one Thursday evening at 6 p.m. here, beginning the first Thursday in February.
And not the two after the 6th.
Right. Too many vacations.
Sure, lucky you, thank you, this was a
Thank you.
great class.
Yes, thank you.
Here's the handout.
I started using the Healthy Minds app and I really like it.
Good, yes. It's so handy, isn't
Yeah. It's really
Whoops, sorry.
insightful.
Is it two here? I think it's stapled.
it? Right.
I almost got it.
So take a look at that and we'll use that again next week when we're talking about emotional pain.
Which I think sometimes manifests as physical pain.
Yes,
I think they're linked.
yes, very much so.
And of course, some of the emotional pain that causes the physical manifestation comes from our thoughts.
Yeah,
Vicious cycle.
Oh, isn't it?
they say that every emotion has a corresponding feeling in the body. Yeah, that's what we're gonna explore next week.
Yeah, good. So the flow that I often do at the beginning of class, we on our backs and we
Yeah.
take one knee in and then we take it out to the side
Yeah,
and
that
then we
was
take it
different.
across
Right,
the
yeah.
body is really good for that muscle.
Okay,
Particularly when you can keep one knee bent.
But when you take it across
Yes,
this way, let yourself roll all the way over and
Uh-huh.
you'll feel that stretch
Uh-huh.
there.
yeah,
I noticed when we did this one that it was bothering you yesterday. So
Right.
this supine pigeon one, that works that butt muscle right there, the
Uh-huh.
sciatica and the IT band. But you can keep your foot on the floor and just stretch it this way too. You don't have to bring it up.
Another way to do that standing up is at your bed. And I'll use this spot over here to show you. You just take that same leg up on your bed and just lean over
Uh-huh.
it this way and that
Uh-huh.
same stretch is happening there.
So stretch it to the point where it starts to hurt.
And then stay there and breathe there.
Okay.
I'll tell you let that go.
Okay,
Working on your letting go.
okay,
And then crossing one ankle, if it's whatever butt it is, that foot goes over the other one and bend forward. You could have a chair or block to lean on, but I'm gonna stretch that too.
okay.
I was listening to everything you said, but I was thinking about those stretches and I wanted to remind
Thank
you
you.
never to tell you.
Good, thank you.
I sleep with a tennis ball in my bed sometimes too, and I just put that right on that spot.
Yeah,
Cause your bed is soft enough that cause a tennis ball is quite hard.
yeah,
But the bed is soft enough that it gives a little bit, and it just gives enough little pressure there to release that muscle.
I think I might need a new mattress too.
I even keep a tennis ball in the car to
Yes,
sit on once in a while. And the last thing I was thinking to tell you that I just tell everybody about, anyways, it's called the TENS unit.
yes,
You know
right,
the TENS unit?
right,
Yeah, I put that on there too.
okay,
You can put one here, and you can put one down here wherever you said, cause that does run all the way down to your ankle.
you don't need a prescription for it anymore, you can just get it,
The TENS unit,
right, is that right?
I don't know what that means, I didn't know you had to have a prescription for
Well,
one.
years ago, you needed a
Oh,
prescription.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, you can get it on Amazon now.
Sure. Counter,
But of course, you don't want that electrical charge so sharp that it makes the muscle contract. You
Right.
want it,
uh-huh,
because then it just makes it feels good at the time, but then it sends more lactic acid there. Because you're contracting that muscle and you don't wanna do that.
you wanna work on that with me right now, or do you want
Sure.
to, come early?
Well, I don't have I don't
Better.
have the TENS unit here.
No, I mean that stretching exercise and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
the yoga.
Sure,
position.
you wanna do it?
Okay,
Yeah, do you wanna do it on the video?
we'll ask Rebecca to stop the video.
Thank you. Oh yeah, I should get home actually. My
Okay.
family's waiting for me, I just realized.
Yeah, that's right, it's your birthday.
But I will show you again on Saturday. In fact,
Maybe
if you're gonna
Saturday?
be there, I'll just incorporate some in the class.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good. Bless you.
I love to do that. Gives me inspiration. Sometimes I email my friend Erica, who comes on Saturdays too, and I'll say, is your body craving any kind of yoga this week? And that's my inspiration.
Uh-huh, good. Okay, I'll be there.
Sounds good. Well, this class was really great. All of them are. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.
You are welcome.